Hi guys, and welcome to the very first episode of Bold Moves, a series where we're going to be sharing the stories of people who have made bold moves in their lives and careers, whether it's turning their side gig into a full-time hustle or overcoming some obstacle or barrier they faced. Our mission is to get you inspired to make the bold move to take your life, career, and business to the next level. I'm your host, Angela Merzib, and let's hop right in and meet our first guest. Hi guys, so today we're going to be talking to Michelle Blundell-Dunkerley. She's a financial security advisor. We're going to be talking to her about her work and also another topic that was really important for her to share, and that is her struggle and her healing from complex PTSD. Michelle has been featured as one of the 100 Calgary female entrepreneurs that you must do business with in Volume 2 of No Magazine. And you can check her out and the rest of the gals at thenotribe.com. She's going to be one of the many ladies that I speak to from the No Tribe, so that you can get to know these amazing gals as well. So congratulations, Michelle, on being featured in the book, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm really glad to be here, Angela.
That's great. So one thing I found really interesting about you is when we first got introduced to each other, I just loved the way that you introduced yourself to me. And the tagline that you used, and part of what I do for my clients is I help them to communicate what it is they do in a way that's really memorable. Mm-hmm. So how do you introduce yourself? Can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
I take care of your business and your family when you can't. And I've been in the business for 20 years and I haven't met anyone I can't find money for.
That's awesome. That's a great motivator for people to check out what you do, right? It really strikes your curiosity. So tell us a bit about the history behind how you got to be doing what you're doing, what you were doing previously to this, and the reason you made the career switch.
Yeah. Well, it's been a crazy ride over 20 years. I started out on the trading floor as a trader it was Green Line back then. They're now TD Waterhouse. And did that. I ran their new issues desk for Central Canada. Then I supervised traders. And then I got into the financial planning. And I think it was in 2002, I think I actually got into it. And then in 2008, I took 8 years off and was a stay-at-home mom because my husband was traveling the world for work. And we moved back to Calgary in 2015. January 2016, I'm in Costco. I run into somebody I worked with on the trading floor, and she's like, "Do you want a job?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I can go back to work now." Mm-hmm. So I went back as an assistant because, 8 years out of the business, something's going to change, right? Oh. I don't want to sit in front of people saying I'm the expert if I've missed out on 8 years of what's happened, right? So, which I hadn't, but, Mm-hmm. So anyway, and then, in 2017, I just said, no, I'm going to go do it myself. Awesome. And it's been awesome.
Perfect. And you mentioned before that you work with your spouse?
Yeah. My husband is also my business partner. Okay. He, what happened when I, because I had worked in the office as an assistant, people got to know me, got to know my ethics and my integrity. And so when I came out as an advisor, I had 3 advisors approach me in the first 6 months and asked me to take over their clients. So I went from 0 to big really fast. And I don't want just anybody handling my clients. And my husband wasn't happy with his career. And I said, why don't you just come do what I do? And he's really good at it. So that was awesome. That was a bonus.
Yeah, that helps.
I knew he would take care of my clients the way I want them taken care of.
Yeah, that's super important for sure.
Oh, totally.
So, do you have any tips for other people out there that are working with their spouse or partner in order to stay sane and to keep things working smoothly? How do you handle that?
We get along really well. Like, we actually met on eHarmony.
Oh, cool.
So they did a personality profile and matched us up, and they did a really good job. And in fact, he scored the same as me. He got a perfect score on the career aptitude test that they make you take when you become an advisor. And both of us like killed it because we've got the right personality for it.
So the algorithms really do work on those.
They really do.
Well, that's good. So first tip is make sure you get along with your spouse, I guess, in your everyday life.
We did renos. Like I bought my first house, I think 3 days before our first date. So and then he had bought his house 6 months before that. So when we met, we both had our own homes, and we renoed one and sold it, and renoed the other, sold it.
Wow, that's a lot to go through. You guys must really like each other.
Yeah.
Renos are stressful. I know that. We're always renovating over here.
Oh, yeah. And it is. And if you can get along when you renovate, you can work together.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a good test. I will make sure the listeners and the viewers know that that's the test.
Yeah. Do a renovation or go traveling together.
Okay. Yeah. That's like the Amazing Race, right? That's a real test of if
it really is.
Have a good relationship or not. So as far as finding money for people, can you give us just one insider tip that our viewers can take with them to start looking in their budgets to maybe be able to find money for themselves?
Absolutely. The biggest way I find money for people is I reorganize their debt. Like I tell them to get a line of credit and move all your credit card debt to lower interest debt. You'll pay it off a lot faster. And like I have found my husband $500 a month when I first met him.
Wow. That's
just by reorganizing his debt, because he had a guy at work who was advising him, and he just had like ridiculously high interest rates, and whoever was at the bank wasn't working for him.
Yeah.
And I find, nothing against the banks, but it's really hard to develop a relationship with somebody at a bank because they're only in the position for 18 months to 2 years.
Yeah.
So,
and then they move on to something.
And then they move on. So you need to have that one person who really cares about you, right? And your finances. And I don't make any money when they do this. I just want people to have more money, right? And I want them to be able to spend it how they want, not on things like interests and fees and
all that hidden stuff that you're paying every month. Well, that's a good tip, because you're looking at really what's a common credit card interest rate right now, 23%.
It's 19.9 usually.
Versus what, 6 for a line of credit?
It's 6 to 8, yeah. Sometimes 3 or 4, depending on when you took it out and what the interest rates were. Like it's a huge difference, and it makes a big difference in terms of paying it off faster.
Okay, good tip for us.
Right.
So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So what would you say is the best, most rewarding part of what you do for your clients?
It probably sounds like a cliche, but I do love helping people. I love making a difference, Money is such a stressor for so many people, and I get to take that stress off their plate. And that to me is just huge. And I love people. I love learning about them. I love knowing their lives and just knowing that whatever we do is going to help them and their kids and their grandkids. And, so I'm a sucker for helping people.
That's awesome. That's great. That is a real skill to have for sure. I know you talked about this when we spoke earlier, and maybe this is a good segue to bring the other part of what we're going to talk about up, is you felt when you were growing up that you didn't really have that cheerleader. So for you want to sort of be that person. For
Absolutely.
You were lacking. So I know what you wanted to talk about today, what partially was the complex PTSD that you dealt with and overcame. And
I still deal with it.
I suppose.
Yeah.
But let's talk a bit about that. So why is it important for you to share that story about your PTSD?
It's part of who I am. I don't have a pre-trauma history. You grow up in an emotionally abusive environment. It has a long-reaching effects.
Mm.
But most people with my condition have a hard time getting off the couch and getting out of the house. They don't trust people. Like it's really hard for us to trust people when your caregivers betrayed you, right?
Yeah, of course.
So trust is a huge issue for people like us, and a lot of people um, can't hold down a job with complex PTSD. And I want people to know that yeah, you can, and you can go into business for yourself, and you can rock it how you want, right?
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Not that you, I mean, that you can rock it, not
Yeah,
the other part,
yeah,
of course. But so, did you find that you had some challenges in your business because of this, and how is
yeah,
it showing up in your business?
yeah. I still experience flashbacks and terror, and so having my husband actually as my business partner has been a huge help on those days where I cannot face any people. It's too people-y out there, you know.
Right? I like that.
I can send him and he can take care of stuff, right? And I've got an assistant, and you just have to put in the supports that you need, right? And nobody has to do it all themselves, right? And I think part of being a good business owner is knowing your limitations and finding people who can turn your weaknesses into strengths, right?
I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, totally. So yeah, your husband is your safety net. That's great.
Yeah.
Um, so how now you sort of explained the difference to me about PTSD and complex PTSD. What is
Yeah.
that difference? Can you define that for our viewers?
Absolutely. The only real difference is the length of time that you were traumatized. So normal PTSD, it comes from an event or a couple of events kind of thing. Whereas complex PTSD, it's like day in, day out, your whole life, right? And so
Right.
I kind of think like I always felt like I was at war with
Hmm.
my family, always trying to defend myself, always on alert, always the verbal attacks and the humiliation and things like that. So I am really thrilled that I got out of that. And yeah, sorry, I sidetracked.
That's
That
okay.
happens when you have CPT. But
Okay.
anyway, so going back to your question, the difference is it's the prolonged and it's the day in day out, and doctors are now starting to differentiate between complex PTSD and PTSD.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's the length of time.
Yeah,
And
so it's when you grow up with it,
yeah,
I think it's something that never goes away, but
no,
you learn how to manage, right? And you learn how to deal, right?
right, right. So for you, for yourself, how were you able to take that first step? What is the first step in managing this and dealing with it? What advice do you have for other business owners who are struggling with this?
Yeah, talk to somebody. Like find someone you can trust to talk to. I mean, my husband has been my therapist many times
Right.
because for us, when you have complex PTSD, you typically had, you weren't very loved.
Hmm.
And so you struggle with that. And so my journey, I've had trouble with counselors because most of the time they look like a deer caught in headlights, and because I just come in and say, okay, here's my story, right? And it's too much for them and they can't handle it. And so that can be very damaging to
Hmm.
people. So, but just stick with it and persevere. And I work around stuff, right? I've always been a square peg, you know, and so I've always had to do things slightly differently, and it still works, right? I may not be going from A to B in the line that most people think you should, but it's my journey and I'm doing it.
Yeah, For sure. So for you, it was finding that person, even though you didn't find them initially, you just kept trying to find.
Yeah, and then I did get some good help, and yeah, and it's just you've just got to feel it. The only way out of pain is through it, unfortunately, and you
Mm-hmm.
just have to feel it. And half the time we develop the complex PTSD is because we're avoiding feeling because the feeling is too painful. And then, so you gotta just feel it and feeling it and accepting it, I think, are two of the biggest things.
Interesting, interesting. So yeah, going through the pain rather than trying to mask it or
Hmm.
ignore
Like,
it.
yeah, like I have to say, for me, cannabis was a lifesaver. I 3 years ago got a prescription because I'd heard that it helped people with PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
My doctor was against it because there wasn't enough information. My counselor was against it. But I was like, I got to know. Something's got to give, right?
Hmm.
What it did for me, though, is it gave me, like, it made me feel. And
Mm.
so I would feel these things and I would work through them. And it was awesome. Like, it's changed my life.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing, actually, to know. Well, I've just heard a statistic that we have the most cannabis outlets in all of any city in Canada. So we
Oh,
have, that's,
and I don't even shop here.
oh, okay. Well, we have the most here. So we're pretty stocked up and ready to
Yeah, no,
go.
I have a prescription. I order it online.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can do that too. But as
Yeah.
far as walk-ins, we have lots here. So,
Yeah.
but you would suggest that somebody like you go through this with the help of somebody else, not
Oh,
on your
yeah, you
own.
can't do this alone. The only thing that really, really saved me was my husband's unconditional love. And then that translates to my kids' unconditional love. And
Oh,
really, being loved is what is the biggest cure for me, right?
right.
Because I never felt loved.
Yeah, for sure. Amazing that you came out of that and you found the thing that you needed, right? I think a lot of people probably maybe haven't gotten there yet, but there is
I
hope
did.
that they can.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I did spend 6 years as a single person before I found my husband because I would have a date and I would see a red flag and I'd be like, I don't want that.
You
So,
hadn't probably dealt with that yet. You hadn't gone through it, like you
no,
say.
I didn't even realize I had it when I married my husband. Like,
Oh, interesting.
yeah.
So how long ago would you say you had that realization, like, okay, I have to do something about this. I have to get some help.
Mm,
How many years ago?
2013, probably 20.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It was because I think it was about 6 months before my dad died. And I had had enough. I was tired of being in pain all the time.
Mm.
And I said, I got to do something about this. And I actually got a lot of help when I moved to Calgary because I
Mm.
was living in small town BC and, the services aren't always, you know, I mean, they were good. They were helpful, but I really got down to it here. And maybe
Yeah.
just away from everyone
From
and I
everybody.
cut out all the abusers in my life. So I don't have contact with them. Some of them have died, and the ones that are left I wish them well. I'm on the sidelines cheering their life on, but I can't be a part of it.
Yeah, and that's what I loved about you when we talked last time is that you wish them no harm, like you say, and you even told me that you told your sister, "Hey, if you're willing to change your ways, I'm willing to, have a relationship with you." So
Yeah,
that's amazing because I know bitterness can really plant its claws in you and grow into something that really takes over your life.
I
And
do
and for
not want to
what?
live that
Yeah,
life. I
no,
have zero interest. You know what? The first part was really crappy, so the rest of it's going to be really
gotta be
good.
good, right? It's gotta be good.
And I'm in charge now, so I can make it that way.
There you go. You go, girl.
All
That's
right.
awesome. So I know you're doing a talk on overcoming obstacles in
Yeah,
Calgary pretty soon here. So how can people find out more about that
that's
and attend that?
yeah. It was called Mompreneur Life, but they've
Okay.
just changed the name to Real Biz Moms, I
Okay.
think. And we do a brunch and boss moms. There's actually one this Sunday, and then November 24th is mine, and it's a bunch of business women that come, and I'm just going to talk about my journey. And really, I genuinely believe anyone can do anything they set their mind to. And I am grateful. My dad, I believe he had CPTSD as well, undiagnosed, but he always believed in me. And he always said I could do anything I set my mind to. And he didn't believe that my gender was going to hold me back or any of that. And so that voice was always there going, you can do this. You can do whatever you want. And now I look and I go, you know what? I've survived some pretty awful shit. There really not, this is not an invitation, but there really isn't a lot more that can take me down. You know what I mean? If I'm not down yet.
Yep.
And so I'm just grabbing life and I'm living it.
That's amazing. And I know what you mean about the dad, that I had a dad like that too, who really encouraged me. Didn't see my gender at all. I always joke and I say he treated me as a son he never had, because I was out there fixing the car with him and doing the landscaping and all that kind of thing. So
I have one daughter like that, and the other one's more like me and doesn't want to get dirty.
I think I had to get dirty because I was the oldest, and so anyway, I was the helper around the house. So, but same went with him. I never had that that feeling like, oh, I can't do this because I'm a girl. I just didn't grow up with that, right?
Yeah.
So that's amazing, and I can see where you get your cheerleaderness from.
Yeah. I genuinely think that if it was okay for my dad to be, because he's from the era where, I mean, when my mom died and we said he might be depressed, he bit our heads off, because that's a huge shame, right, to that generation. And I always wonder what his life would have been like if somebody could have intercepted at some point. And he didn't, and then my mom just manipulated and abused him as well. And, and I always wonder if it was okay to say, hey, I'm not okay.
Right.
Especially as a guy, right? Because guys aren't allowed to have feelings.
No.
And he wasn't, for sure. And he was a very emotional person, right? Being told to have feelings. So, and I think that's, another big factor. But yeah, I really wish I could have known my dad after some healing.
Yeah. You could have seen a big difference in him, likely. And yeah, I'm glad that we live in this era where it's okay to talk about mental health issues. That's becoming more normalized.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't even see complex PTSD as a brain, like as a mental health issue.
Okay.
It's a central nervous system injury.
Wow.
And it's a
physical. It's a physical thing. Wow, I didn't know that.
Because as you're growing and you're developing, when you get that shock, and you sort of jump, well, that was all the time for me. And people would say and do horrible things. And so you're constantly in this hypervigilant state, right? And, we need to talk about it. We do.
Yeah, for sure. Well, maybe some of these folks can catch you at the speech that you're giving.
Yeah.
Which would be great. So I've just got a few questions for you to wrap up. These are the questions I ask all of my guests because I am a branding expert. So we want to know a little bit about how you brand yourself and give them some insights into that. So what do you stand for? What does your brand stand for, and how are you different?
Okay. Basically my brand is me, because I work for Freedom 55, or contracted with them. But it's still me that's sitting across the table from somebody and talking about their finances. And with people get with me, straight talk. All my clients love that when I explain something to them, they get it, right? The number of times I have heard a client say to me, I have been in other financial advisors' offices and they were talking Greek. I had no idea. You actually make it understandable, because it's really not that hard, right? It isn't. And I think people get too bogged down in the big words and sounding like they know what they mean, and then you lose everybody. right?
Yeah.
I like to take the big concepts and break it down to like grocery shopping, right? And how would you handle it for grocery shopping, right?
Take it down to a level where everybody gets it.
Everybody gets it. Yeah.
Yeah. I call
Yeah.
it techno babble when we just speak in our language, our
Yeah.
vernacular, and not the client's vernacular.
Yeah. And I get, sometimes I slip out the jargon, but then I'll back myself up.
At least you're aware of it, right?
Yeah. And I don't do anything. We don't sign any paperwork until I'm comfortable. My client is comfortable with what we're doing.
Okay.
And so they have to understand it. And the beautiful thing about that is nobody calls me when the markets go down because they knew it was coming, right?
You've informed them that this is what happens. It goes down, but it also goes up, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
This is just kind of the ride you have to, go along.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I want to throw in there my integrity too, because that's a big deal to me. Being honest, an honest person. It was actually a survival tool in my home growing up, because I was in trouble for everything and I didn't even have to do stuff, but they could never catch me in a lie, right? And because I just stayed honest. My dad was like that too.
What would you say that your brand or yourself, you stand against?
Anything that dehumanizes anyone. I am a humanitarian. I think, my clients, if you get treated the same if you have $10 or $10 million, because I see human beings. I don't see dollar signs.
I like that. Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure your clients feel that too when they're talking to you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you got to think, I sell life insurance. Who do you want by your side when you're grieving?
Yeah.
You want somebody who's going to fight on your side or not, right? And I mean, I see people at some of the worst times and I'm able to just comfort them.
Definitely want somebody on your side fighting with you, not against you on this kind of stuff, especially. Yeah. It's emotional stuff, dealing with your finances and your life insurance, things like that. Oh yeah, trust is huge, I'm sure.
Oh, huge.
These are kind of fun questions.
All right.
If there was to be an actor to play your brand in a movie, who would they be? Who would you choose to play your brand, and why?
Julia Roberts, because she's got that big smile. And everyone knows me for my smile.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, she does have quite an incredible smile.
She does, yeah.
What other brands would your brand be friends with?
That's an interesting question. And I don't know how to answer that, because my problem is you can't guarantee that brand, right?
That's true.
And so I'm kind of my own thing. Like I separate myself already because, I don't know, maybe IBM, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say you'd want to be friends with somebody who's tried, tested, and true, like who's been, right? Who's got a track record that's proven and honest.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And trustworthy. Yeah.
Trustworthy. IBM's a good one for that.
Yeah.
I suppose. Yeah. So tell us, what is one crazy but true fact about you?
I recorded the song my husband and I danced to at our wedding.
Oh, wow. That's impressive. Maybe we'll have to put a link to that in the show notes. Oh, I didn't know you could sing. That's amazing.
Yeah, I was really into singing back then, and I just decided I wanted to do that. I knew a girl who had recorded herself, and she walked down the aisle to herself, and I thought, let's do that for the first dance.
Well, that's confident. I love it. I didn't even want to show up to my wedding because I was so nervous about everybody staring at me. Like, oh, man. I did show up, though. I did, just for the record. I showed up.
I did, too.
It's still lit.
Yeah, same here.
Awesome. Well, it's been great talking to you, Michelle. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to put some links below where you can find Michelle. Actually, how can people find you? Let us know. What's your
I've got
website?
a Facebook page.
Okay.
under Michelle Blundell-Dunkerley. I'm not very active on Instagram, but I do have an Instagram page.
Okay.
I'm getting better. I'm starting to learn all this social media stuff.
Great having you. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I hope you found this interesting and helpful. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.